corporate foundations and philanthropy have been the face of corporate citizenship for most large companies for much of the late 20th century. But this picture is rapidly changing. To discuss the evolving role of foundations in meeting South Africa's economic and social goals, we have in studio Mark Frankel, the CEO of Shanduka Black Umbrellas, and from Kagiso Trust we have their Chief Financial Officer Babalo Makosholo, and MTN South Africa Foundation is represented by Senior Manager for Entrepreneurship Tsepo Kgaolane. Gentlemen, thank you so much for making the time to join me this evening. And perhaps let me first come to you, Mark. What role do foundations, or should foundations be playing in meeting the country's social agenda?
Well, I think there's a number of roles. Obviously, each foundation needs to find their core focus, but it's really addressing the needs to resolve issues around poverty and providing people with the means and mechanisms to develop themselves beyond the circumstances that they find themselves in, so that they can participate meaningfully in society and in the economy.
I mean, very interestingly, if we look across the foundations represented here today, you all have a very strong focus on entrepreneurship and skills development. And again, if you look at whether it's the State of the Nation or the budget speech, all you hear is entrepreneurship and skills development. So maybe, Pablo, let me come to you with this. How important is it for foundations to actually align themselves with government objectives?
I think for us it's quite critical. I mean, you have to scratch where it itches the most.
Right.
Yeah, and if you're looking at our ability to create jobs, you need foundations to play a critical role. South Africa's got a high unemployment rate, and if we as foundations or trust don't play a role to create jobs, to fund entrepreneurships, then the social ills and the inequality just increases. So I think for us it's quite critical that we play that role in partnering government.
Right, and perhaps let me come to you, Tsepo. One, do you agree with Pablo's sentiments? But most importantly, as we're seeing corporate responsibility sort of shift to the center of business models or become more integrated in business models, how are you as the MTN South Africa Foundation measuring the impact that you're having? And I would assume it's a different metric when you have to measure social impact versus the bottom line that other divisions of the business have to account to.
Thank you. If you look at the challenges that are faced by communities, I think it's a tall order for one entity or government on their own to try and address the challenges that are faced by communities. So hence the important role of actually partnering, not only with government, but with other private sector organizations, with NGOs, to actually try and address some of the challenges that are faced by communities. For us as MTN SA Foundation, our contribution to communities is, I believe that if we make South Africa a better place, then we as company, that also plays a role in making sure that we actually sustain our businesses as MTN moving forward. Because we are in the telecommunication space. If we go and actually bridge the digital divide by introducing ICT, by introducing people to start their own businesses, that will be the pool, that will be future business for the company moving forward.
Speaking about partnerships, let me bring it back to you, Mark. I mean, Tsepo speaks about the importance of making sure that you bring other players on board. Is that an accurate reflection of what's happening on the ground, especially when each company, when it comes to their annual report, likely has to report on what they've done and what differentiates them from other players in the same sector?
I think collaboration is key. You know, it's something that we practice avidly within Shanduka Black Umbrellas. And funnily enough, the Shanduka Foundation and Kagiso Trust are working together on a major project in the Free State with the Free State government. So the Adopt a School model, which is a program which is working with Kagiso Trust, is very much based on involving corporates in the development of schools. So it's working with hundreds of corporates, literally. They play a key role within Shanduka Black Umbrellas. We supported by over 300 corporates. We're working with government, we're working with state-owned enterprises, etc. So the challenges that we face in South Africa are massive. We need to work together to be able to address those meaningfully. So I think it's very important that we work together.
The 300 corporate partners that you work with, would you work with them in their role as a donor or as an active partner?
We work in both roles. So we work in the role as receiving their donations, but also in developing small businesses, for their supply chains and for the surrounding communities, effectively.
I want to come back to looking at enterprise development and the role that foundations play in advancing that. But before I do that, let me come to you again, Pablo, and I want to drill a little bit deeper into this partnership model. When you go and approach private companies to come on board? What is it that they want in terms of their return on investment before they decide to partner with an organization like the Kagiso Trust?
I think most organizations are looking for sustainability. No one wants to invest into a project or a business that is likely to fail or that is not going to be sustainable in the future. So I think there are two metrics that people look at. One's a financial return side, if people are not putting in a grant and are putting in investment, but there's also a social return where it is jobs, the positive development of the community. I think the two are balanced, and most corporates are looking at that balance.
But you are navigating a bit of a tricky space, understanding that you're also making that differentiation from pure venture capital to social capital, where most investors don't want to go in rural areas.
Yeah.
So how are you selling the idea to investors for them to throw their funds behind something that would potentially, under a normal business model, be too risky to go?
Well, I think I understand the imperative. I think that it is imperative that we develop the rural sector. So if you don't invest in that, we still perpetuate an unequal society. So I think the corporate is sensitive to the fact that you need to develop the whole of South Africa. So I think it's not as difficult to sell, but you're quite right that the risk element of it, people don't know how to price it. And I think probably maybe one of the people that should be part of the discussions is the financial service sector. You know, how do they fund some of these businesses so that the entrepreneurs will be able to thrive?
Let's look at the impact of a gloomy economy on how funds are actually allocated to the foundation. Particularly, let's look at MTN. We hear results saying that the economy is not performing well. We're trading on a 2 percentile mark. Then we look at MTN results, and we're told that maybe things aren't so going great in some of the markets. At the end of the day, does this have direct impact on the percentile that actually gets allocated to the foundation?
As MTN is a foundation and MTN it's our mother company, the commitment from our side is it's developing communities, especially in the entrepreneurship space. It's a priority. So whether we're doing well or we're not doing well, it's the commitment that has been made from senior management is we're going to continue developing communities, because we believe that for MTN to move forward, we need a thriving economy. So if unemployment is a challenge, then it's going to be a challenge for us to actually get it's going to be a challenge to actually get the development that we require and the future business as we require as a company to make sure that we sustain our entity and contribute to the national income of the country.
Right. Mark, let's come back to the empowerment question. I mean, oftentimes you will see enterprise development seen almost like the new buzzword if companies want to get the right empowerment credentials. How are you then positioning Shanduka, and particularly Shanduka Black Umbrella, so that it's not just an empowerment game or a box-ticking game, but that you're really actually getting what you want out of your corporate partners?
Well, I think the key for us is to get the corporates involved on as many levels as possible. So the financial assistance is very important for us, obviously, but then we also encourage the staff within the company to become mentors for the businesses. So both life coaches in a way, but also technical mentors. So if there's specific areas within the supply chains where certain skills are required, then they can assist in those. And then also to be able to provide the procurement opportunities, which is key for us, because obviously you don't have a business without any sales. So the major challenge that we face in South Africa is how do we integrate all these small businesses into the mainstream economy?
Yeah.
And we need to learn the lessons on both sides. Obviously, we're doing the development of the businesses for the supply chain opportunities, but at the same time, corporates need to learn how to be able to integrate. So the only way we can make that happen is if we work together, and this provides a brilliant platform to be able to do that.
Do you think foundations are doing enough?
I think they're doing incredible work.
Right.
I mean, it's hard to say how much is enough, in essence. I think they're doing as much as they can within the circumstances. Things are changing and evolving. It's always a challenging area. But in terms of the people sitting around the table, I think there's amazing work.
Amazing work being done. Let's quickly look, come back to you, Babala, and I want you to talk me through what differentiates a really effective player in the NGO space, even if it is a corporate foundation within a corporate setting. In a space where I'm thinking that we're seeing an increasing number of players, not much collaboration or not as much collaboration as could be done. How are players differentiating themselves and standing out and really making a difference?
Yeah, I think the point that you're making about collaboration, I think, is the one key thing that stands out for us. That you can't do everything on your own, that you need to collaborate with partners. But the other thing is also the ability to have your own funds. I mean, if you are a foundation or a trust and you are dependent on foreign donors to be able to give you money to be able to do development work, you would always be driving the agenda of the person who's got the purse. You know,
right.
The one who's got the purse will drive the agenda. I think the ability to generate your own funds, to collaborate with others to achieve higher impact, that for us is a differentiating impact here.
Let's talk about foundations of the future, Tshepo. As we're seeing, economic landscape is constantly shifting in South Africa and globally, and foundations arguably are probably more agile than traditional government institutions when it comes to responding to some of these issues. What do you think foundations of the future should be looking like, and what should they be doing now to make sure that they're positioned to respond in a manner that's quite effective?
Again, to achieve sustainable development, it's all about partnerships. It's all about not duplicating what government or other private sector organizations are doing. So I believe CSI platforms of the future are platforms whereby government is setting a pace in terms of here the needs in terms of their integrated development planning. So the organization that will partner with government in terms of the needs of the communities, and not actually giving them the fish per se, but actually giving them the tools to be able to say for this community to actually move from where it is to become job creators, not only job seekers. So a CSI platform that is implementing intervention, that is partnering with other partners, utilizing the core of its business to make sure that we go and support communities. I think moving forward, that's the CSI platform that we require.